played between my video lessons group and the team from CARPE DIEM, and these games were played on board 188 of 210 boards. Our man is paulby, high 1500 rating versus FlayerGun, mid 1400s. Let's have a look at the two games. Okay. Now here comes a move that I've been criticizing like crazy. These rook pawn moves. But a3 is actually an okay here. And some people are going to say, what do you mean? Rats, you tell us it is and it isn't. Well, as I pointed out in my article about where I put the video up showing the shortcomings of this, there are some positions where these moves are necessary. Happens in the Sicilian Najdorf variation. That's the key move of the Najdorf variation is for black to shove his queen rook pawn up. Okay. Mainline variations of the Ruy Lopez, white will push h3. But these are things that have been determined to be necessary moves. Now a3 isn't necessary in this move, but it does relate to some very similar positions of the closed Sicilian. Let me just back up slightly. Not the closed Sicilian, the Sicilian with colors reversed, which is what the English opening is. Let's look at the four knights, for instance. It's not uncommon for black, and I've done that, or for white to play a3 right here, and I've done it before. The idea is you're going to play a Sicilian defense with a tempo in hand, it's perfectly playable. And in this case, the pawn going here is necessary to keep a knight out, because oftentimes, you want to plant your queen on c2, and you don't need a pesky knight in there harassing it. And in many cases, the b4 will be played, and the bishop will be fianchetted on the long diagonal. So it's the indiscriminate push of these pawns, like I've demonstrated in my video, where one side doesn't even have a threat to put. Wouldn't even be able to make a threat if they put a bishop or knight there, but the other side stops and just prevents it once and for all with two consecutive rook pawn moves. These ideas are bad. Okay, let's back up and get to the right position. So g3, knight c6, okay, a3, now d5. Now here, white commits a major blunder. What do you do when you're not sure what to do? Well, first off, you have online database resources available. Okay, you can get this stuff for free. You can find out what to do. But if you're playing over the board game, if all else fails, develop a piece. So bishop g2 would be a terrific move here. Actually threatens to win a piece, right? And white needn't fear this knight taking, because he can just take back with the b pawn. And eventually, white's going to be able to push both of his center pawns up and have a very playable game. But what white does is commits a huge mistake here and develops the black queen. So you don't want to make exchanges that develop your opponent's pieces like he's just done here. And now this queen has a terrific square, is on a terrific square that can't be driven away conveniently by white. And suddenly, black is threatening to win a rook. I mean, you shouldn't be able to threaten to win a rook on the sixth move of any opening, okay? Although there are some that you will. White brings out the knight, and now the knight gets displaced, and it's pushed off to the side of the board, where it really doesn't have much scope and much future. And now we get a double blunder. White plays bishop g2, and black can win a piece right now. It's a thematic trick. Pause the video if you're not sure. Okay, resume the video. The winning move is simply to play g5. That traps the knight. The knight has no safe square to retreat. But black missed it. Played queen e5. And now black castles. And it looks like g5 is still there. But it requires a little bit of prep by white to solve it. First, he has to sacrifice a pawn, and there's several variations here. This bishop can take, and then if you bring the bishop back, finally you're able to play f4, and you're going to eliminate this hostile pawn that's bothering the knight. Black doesn't have to take on d4 with his bishop. He could take with his knight, but once again the same pattern emerges, and then you're able to play f4. And if you take with the queen, the queens could be exchanged, or just, well, actually you don't have to trade queens. You can just stop and pick up this pawn here and eliminate the threat. Anyway, black missed it, but now it's no good. Okay, so let's see. White castled and black castled, and e3, and the game kind of levels out. g5 is still not going to work. It was working earlier, but not now. And the game turns very, very level. Neither side's able to get much at all from this game. Black enjoys a slight lead in development here. He's got a rook on the center file. White doesn't. Black's got an extra minor piece developed. White's got some weaknesses in his queenside pawns, but he tries the direct approach to attack them, and White keeps finding resources. And now time to get that knight back in play. f6 takes away e5 and g5. Now White's trying to trap that rook, but it's not going to work. And the game's looking very, very level, even though black has control of the file and access to the 7th rank. He's just not going to get anywhere here, as we will see. Maybe rook c2 would have been better, but then white just backs up the bishop with the rook on c1. So black's been driven out of the 7th rank, and now this repairs the black pawn structure. Black's got the slightly better of it, but white finds adequate resources. Here's counterplay on the queen side, and they just kind of go on a little bit here. We'll see. I think there was a winning chance in here for black in a little bit. We'll find it soon. Let's see. Not much is going on. White now has a pass pawn in the center, but it's not enough. And like I say, the game's just starting to drift into an equal position here. And here's the point where black is going to miss his chance. If it's not this move, it's coming up just another move. Okay. The way to let's see. The way to play this is rook e5. Okay, rook e5 threatens the pawn with check. So if white does what he does and attacks this b pawn, this can be captured with check, and then black can drop the rook back to e6 and hold on to it. And we'll be a pawn ahead, and it's still likely a draw, but black gets to have all the fun and play it. All the fun in the rest of the game. But anyway, instead of rook e5, black puts the queen or the king on d4, and the idea is to stop this pawn from advancing. Control e5. Well, you should have used it this way. And if you're wondering about king takes c4, well, this could all of a sudden give white all kinds of potential counterplay. That pawn has to be dealt with. And here comes the white king into the game, and this could get dangerous in a hurry if black is not careful. So, but rook e5 was the move, and I still think the game is a draw, but black has to have all the fun. So anyway, he puts the king on d4, and then white plays the rook there to b1, and now he stops and defends his pawn. Now black's actually down a pawn, but it doesn't matter. The game is pretty much reaching a drawn position. Uh, the white pawn is menacing, but black has it covered. And at this point, they agreed to a draw. And it's pretty easy to see if the king comes over here, you grab that pawn, give it up. But this pawn is far enough advanced that white can't stop it. Okay, so that was that game. Let's reset it. Flip the board, bring the other one in, and we always wonder what move number it's going to start us at. Oh, move 5. Why not move 0 like they belong? Or move 1. Okay. London system tends to lead to pretty even positions, but here's a mistake by black right away. Knight e4. Now it's not a critical mistake at this stage, but it's putting him behind in development. You don't want to move a piece a second time in the opening. Okay, and we'll see black's plan here in a minute. Now white setting up the classical Collie type system with the combined with the London system where the dark squared bishop is outside the pawn chain. But watch what black does. h6. Why? This move I'm going to keep criticizing these moves as long as I see them. This move is terrible. It doesn't develop a piece. White didn't even have control of g5. Wasn't going to put anything on g5. His knight can't go there. It gets gobbled up in two different ways. And you'll see in just a couple of moves why this was a critical error. And keep in mind that black could have developed a piece. Could have played queen f6. Could have played bishop d7. But watch what goes wrong here. Okay. Now pressure on the pawn on e4. How do you defend it? Well, f5. Bang. Check. Now the problem with h6 is shown. What square did it weaken? g6. Black can't safely put a pawn on g6 now. Why? Because he stopped and played h6. So now what does black get to do? Move his king. Can't castle. King's blocking the bishop. What can I say? These rook pawn moves serve no purpose. They put you behind in development. They weaken your position. And now white just has a nice, free, easy game to play. And there's the other rook pawn. Look at that. 2 rook pawns in a row. How does that develop the light squared bishop? The answer is it doesn't. Although b6 directly, trying to, with the idea of bishop b7, so you can swing the rook out, so you can castle by hand. It might run into a nuisance pin here. It might, but I don't know if white has enough pressure on there to control it. So here we have another horrible rook pawn move. You're just handing white this game on a silver platter. Now he finds b6, but the pawn on a6, that's taking away a square from the bishop. So white opts to trade and redeploy the queen. Figures there's not anything on the queen side. Now comes b5. Okay, now maybe we're getting closer to finding some shelter for the king, but white will bust that position open really quick. This king is not safe. And conversely, white's king here on e1 is quite safe on e1. There's no need for white to castle yet, even though he will shortly, because black has nothing to attack that king with. He's hoping white castles kingside, and he has a pawn storm, but the white king is going to be actually quite safe, as we will see. So white starts opening up the position now. And although it's tempting to take with check, this attacks the knight. Knight comes back, and now white castles. And black says, oh boy, I get to start a pawn storm in the center. That's what I'm going to do. So he puts a pawn on a light square, taking away another potential, taking away a potential diagonal for that bishop. So that's probably not the best move. Remember what I always said, every time you move a pawn, you weaken a square. In this case, you weaken c5 as well as e5. And that immediately allows white to go take advantage of it. Now this knight has this beautiful outpost, which black has just gifted to him. So d5 was a mistake. Here comes a check. And the king is still in danger in the center of the board. If that center collapses, look out. We'll have a quick mate. So white starts to try to collapse the center. And, looks like black has a pawn storm to work on the white king, but he has no pieces to attack with. Two of them are sitting at home. Haven't moved yet. Here we are at move 23. Black has said, and this one hasn't moved yet. Black said, I'm going to give you odds of maybe 2 rooks and a bishop. So now the center starts to open up. And now black decides he needs some extra defense. I don't know why. He had e8 covered. Maybe he's trying to get e5. I don't know. You would think you would keep the rook on the h file where maybe you can be attacking the king. Or at least leave room for more squares for this rook to come over too. Right? Okay. Uh-oh. Now black has just totally weakened his center. He's getting e5 in, but he's just exposed the d5 pawn to capture. So I don't think black spent any time analyzing this game. Why don't you guys take time on correspondence chess? Because nobody taught you how to play it. Well, listen to All Rats. He'll teach you how to play it. You take your time. You analyze. Whoops, there goes a free bishop. Now, it's obvious black's not taking his time. I wonder how he managed to draw that first game. White's just ahead a piece, as well as what? A pawn yet? 6 pawns to 5, yeah. And this king is looking very, very naked. And whoops, there goes the queen. Wow, amazing. It's just amazing that people can drop pieces like this in a correspondence game when you have up to 3 days to move. Because people aren't taking their time. They don't understand what correspondence chess is all about. I'm doing my best to change that. It's an uphill fight. But those that follow my program are really going to learn chess. And you're going to take advantage of these people that play speed chess in their games. All right. Thanks so much for your time.